What is going on, Tenda Crew? My name is Billy the Squid, and Dead by Daylight just announced that Pinhead of Hellraiser is going to be the next killer in the game. They have announced all of his perks, all of his abilities. It's all looking really, really cool. And I kind of wanted to sit down and discuss it with you all. Some people live, some people down in the YouTube comments, and just go through everything that this killer does and have a little discussion on where we all think he's going to kind of settle out and the hype that is going to be around him. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start up. I want to go through the perks first, just because I feel like these perks are some of the cooler, like more game evolving perks that behaviors put into the game in a very long time. There's some unique aspects to them that I think bring a lot to the table and are stuff that they're definitely coming out of their wheelhouse a little bit. Let's get into them and we can I can kind of show you what I mean. So the first perk that he has is called Deadlock. After a generator is repaired, the nearest generator to it gets the entity to kind of like take it over, kind of like Corrupt Intervention does. For 30 or 20 seconds, it'll kick anybody that's on that generator off, and that generator is completely inaccessible for 20 seconds. After that, the generator will be highlighted in white to Pinhead so that he knows which one it is, so to not have to worry about that one. It's a really cool slowdown perk. I think it is super neat. I also think there are some cool synergies that you can do with it, like if you have, for say, Ruin equipped, and this kicks somebody off a generator at 95%. 20 seconds is a long time for a Ruin burn, and that could definitely make the game take a lot longer than the survivors probably want. Also, you're going to get plenty of use out of it throughout a game. It's not one of those perks that's either a one and done or you have to do something to get something. If you're killing well, you won't get as many pops out of it, but then you won't need it. If you are struggling, this can kind of give you a little bit of edge and kind of corral survivors around where you need them to, or at least focus your area of search to places where maybe the generators wouldn't be. It's very unlikely that if survivors are playing properly, they're going to wait out the 20 seconds. They're most likely going to go try to find something else to do in the meantime. Hex Plaything is the next one, another Hex ability. This one is really, really interesting in my opinion. So the first time you hook any of the survivors, whenever they get pulled off of the hook, they will be oblivious. And they will stay oblivious until they cleanse a specific totem. Each totem is going to be different given the survivor that gets pulled. They're just going to get dice rolled a totem. It could be on the complete opposite end of the map. It could be one near them. But they will be oblivious until they find that totem and get rid of it. I think that is super duper cool in a very unique way to kind of give the survivor a 50-50 one. Do they go ahead about their business and deal with the oblivious status effect, or do they waste the time to go around and search for this totem to cleanse? The good thing about it is whenever the survivor's close, 24 meters away from the totem specifically, it'll be highlighted. So it's not like they're going to have to try very hard to find it. They just got to kind of get in the general area for it. But I think it's another really cool slowdown perk. I think most of his kit is actually really well made for slowdown, and that'll get into the ability later as well. But the last perk that he has is something I'm really excited about, and it's the Scourge Hook, Gift of Pain. I think what behavior is doing with this, and I'm going to be very disappointed if they don't do this, is they're making a new type of perk, basically. They're making hooks effectively act like hexes, and I think that is really, really cool. And it gives kind of a new killer survivor like play back and forth, where killers are actively going to seek out specific hooks to put survivors on. So let's get into this perk. At the start of the trial, 4 of your hooks are going to be changed to Scourge Hooks. The survivors will not know which ones these are, but you will. They'll be outlined white instead of red. And whenever you hook a survivor onto one of these hooks, whenever they get pulled off, they basically get the sloppy butcher effect, they're going to be hemorrhaged and mangled, so they'll bleed more and they will heal slower. Um, and that's every time you hook a survivor onto one of these hooks. So you could effectively do this to every survivor every time you hook them throughout the game. What is this? The first time the survivor is healed, they suffer a 7% penalty to healing and repair actions until injured again. So even once they get healed, this hook still, like, this perk still keeps giving. They're going to be a little bit slower until they actively get injured again. This one might be a bit overtuned, but the fact that it's only 4 hooks and they are random, I think kind of balances it out a little bit. And yes, it is up to 4. I'm assuming lower tiers of the perk are going to have less hooks available. That would be my guess. But yeah, it exactly. It's almost like Hex RNG. It's exactly like Hex RNG. Whereas the hook placement is going to change like it would with hexes or totems being placed around. You could have a totem that's really well hidden and lasts the whole game. You could have a hook that is in a really central location. You're going to get a lot of people up on it. Or it could be on all of the 4 corners of the map and you're never going to get any use out of them. It's really cool. It's really, really cool. And I hope the Scourge Hook idea is something that they implement later, because I think it is another way to bring the game up to the next level. I think it is a good evolution for the game. But that's just the perks. We need to get into the meat and potatoes of things. We need to get into the ability. And the ability is another kind of twofold ability, similar to what Nemesis brought to the table. But I think this one is done extremely, extremely well. Whereas Nemesis, I feel like the zombies and stuff are a little too random. This one actually has some good playstyle. So the ability itself is the Summons of Pain. What this does is you, as Pinhead, you can kind of aim it like you're a nurse teleporting, and it will open up a portal at that location. You will then take control of a hook, and then you can kind of like steer it around. From what I was seeing, it looked kind of like almost like hillbilly style movement to how the hook is with like the turn speed and stuff. It doesn't turn super quick. You can aim it kind of when the portal, but as soon as you hit that ability, you have like minimal rotation one way or the other. And then once you hook a survivor, they have to hold M1 to be able to break the chains. There's 3 chains that are going to be on them. They hold M1 to break those chains. If they don't, they're going to be extremely slowed and held into place, similar to kind of... you're not going to get pulled towards the hooks, but you're not going to be able to move. It's like a Death Slinger, but not as brutal. But the second part of his ability is what I think is the most interesting and has the most like interaction. The Lament configuration. At the start of the trial, there's going to be a box that spawns in the map that the survivors need to find. There is going to be a timer on them, similar to what Freddy has with like the dream state and stuff like that. And once that timer fills all the way up, you will start getting random portals opening up and chains will start coming out and trying to grab you, and you will have to hold M1 to break them. All of that fun stuff. It's really, really not good if you don't go and find this box. Whenever you do find this box, and the survivors know where the box is at. I'm pretty sure it's highlighted at the start of the trial or whenever it spawns throughout the trial. But whenever you go to find this box, you have to do a puzzle thing. I'm assuming there's going to be skill checks with it also. But that gives Pinhead the ability to teleport to the box's location. It's a very slow teleport. You'll most likely finish it by the time he gets there, but it does give him the ability to go directly to where that location is at. So it's a kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't type situation. You're going to want to send either your less hooked, less injured people to go get the box, or you are going to go and send the people that are better at looping to go get the box. Or you want to kind of time it so that whenever he is in the middle of a chase or something that he's going to be less likely to abandon to get the box. If he's like carrying somebody, for instance. I think that is going to, it's got a lot of counterplay with the survivors, but you have to time it out properly. I think this is going to be a lot of fun to work around in a survive with friends group specifically. I think with randoms this might be really, really strong. I think with survive with friends it will be less strong, but a little bit more fun. So while we go and continue talking about this, I'm just going to pull up some footage of Pinhead being played so that we can kind of have a little display of what's going on while we have conversation. I get the vibe that this killer is entirely about slowing down the pace of the game. Yes and no. So the survive, like the slowdown effect is definitely there. All of his perks are based around slowdown. His ability with the box is very much based around slowdown. But he does have some decent chase ability with this portal. With the ability to scout things. He does have the ability to loop effectively and such like that. I would argue that it's probably like his hook and his teleport. So whenever he sends the portal out with the chain, he has to stand completely still. He does not get to pursue. Once the hook lands, if the hook lands, as you can see here, it's pretty quick to get back, and it does slow them for a very long time. I would say it's slightly better than what Clown... Like, I would compare it to, like, a Clown slow. I think it's better than a Clown slow, but it is harder to actually get the use out of. The chain can keep you from escaping. That is interesting. So he can actually use the chain specifically to guard gates. That's an interesting playstyle. I really like that. But I feel like the direction behavior is taking with this is a good thing. Recently, behavior's been really bad about making killers that are extremely, extremely powerful in the chase, almost to an unfair point. Deathslinger, Nemesis, just to name like a few recent ones that have come out. This one, I feel like he's not as strong in the chase, and that's okay because they have aspects of his kit that make up for that. I feel like the slowdown mixed with a decent chase is a good thing, and it's healthy for the game. So as you can see here, they haven't found the box, so they are getting random chains thrown at them, and he's teleporting to the box location right now. And I'm not sure, I would assume that the survivor that is doing the box will be notified whenever a teleport is coming in. They actually didn't get the box finished by that teleport, so you could, if you're quick enough to it, it's kind of like a hag teleport, where you can get a direct hit off of the box. No, he doesn't know when anybody gets close to the box, only when they're working on the box. 5 seconds after getting off the chain is when you can leave. Gives him a window to strike. That is pretty good, actually. It won't matter too much if you're not injured, because you'll just take the hit and be good to go. But if you are uninjured, or if you are injured, it's going to be a struggle. And a lot of people are saying that you have to like move into cover to break the chains and stuff. That is not the case. It is just hold an M1 and they will break as you hold it. You can still move a little bit, but it's very, very slow. I feel like this is a lot healthier of a killer build for behavior. And I feel like, honestly, from what I've seen, this is a very well-balanced killer. I feel like this is the perfect blend of chase potential and game slowing that makes it fun and interactive for both sides. I don't feel like there's really anything too BS. Similar to how Nemesis had the zombies, a lot of people didn't like that aspect, too much RNG. The pallet breaking made his chase way too strong. There wasn't enough counterplay. This one, even if you're like hooking through a loop and stuff like this, it gives you just enough time to be able to break the pallet before they snap out and they're gone. So while it makes your chasing a little bit safer, loops are still effective against him. Loops are still the main route that you're going to do to deal with him. He doesn't have a direct way of countering loops. I think it said something about solid objects breaking it. It very well could. Let me double check. Okay, so you were correct. Right here it says Any solid object, including characters between the gateway, which is the portal, and the chain survivor, will break the chain immediately. So there is counterplay in that too. I didn't think that it actually counterplayed through loops, but you can actually use your loop effectively to shorten the amount of time that you're being held onto. Or if you have a survivor buddy with you, they can actually run through and snap the chains for you. Pretty interesting. Another neat counterplay mechanic that is interactive, which I think is what we really want from these killers. No killer is really fun if they just have, like, if it's a one-way relationship, you know what I mean? The best killers in this game, I feel like, are the ones that promote interactivity and counterplay between both survivor and killer. If it's one-dimensional, it gets boring. I like that the chain is like a scout. It's exactly like a scout, yeah. So and it works verticality just like Nurse Teleport. So in like indoor maps, you can use it to scout to see where people are at. I don't believe the chain actually stops people from doing gens or whatnot if they get hooked. I know whenever the box hasn't been messed with, those chains don't stop people from getting like if they're working on a gen, they can keep working on the gen and just keep getting hooked. I don't know if his main hook does or not. Okay, so his main hook does stop all actions. So it'll stop repairing generators, it'll stop sabotaging hooks, it'll stop using items, interacting with other survivors, or cleansing totems. So you can effectively stop people from doing things with his main chain. His side chains do not, they just promote the slow. It would be interesting if his main chain would initially interrupt the action, but then slow down whatever action they tried. Yeah, as of right now, his main chain, as long as that main chain is hooked onto you, you can't do anything. You can't heal, you can't do any other action while that main chain is on you. But yeah, this is the new killer. Very interesting. I think he is probably one of the best balanced characters that Behavior has released. I feel like from both a survivor and killer perspective, there is a lot of fun interactions to be had with him. And I hope Behavior sticks with this kind of a mindset moving forward. We have had time and time again chase-centered killers that don't have any way of slowing down the game. So it's not fun to be chased by them as a survivor because you get down super quick and easy. But then it's not fun to play them as a killer because the game gets ended because you're being rushed down or whatever the case may be. This is a good balance. This strikes me as a very fair and fun balance to the game, and I'm excited to see more of him whenever he comes out. So thank you all for coming out. If you have any comments that you want to weigh in on, let me know. I will talk to you later. Much love, Tennis Crew.